Joshua Smith here, and welcome to the GSD Mode Podcast. Now get shit done and smash that subscribe button now. What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode Podcast, where every single week I interview top real estate professionals, top entrepreneurs, and straight up top badasses. They're out there dominating their space. These are people choosing to not live a life of mediocrity, but instead to go out there and create big, amazing, epic lives for themselves, for their families, as well as make a big impact on others' lives. And today, you guys, got another amazing, epic guest here on the podcast. Our guest today is WILLIE MANDRELL. So WILLIE is an extremely successful real estate agent, brokerage owner, investor, and now best-selling author. So WILLIE breaks down how he struggled during his first year in real estate. Then from there, broke down and got clarity on his niche and got laser focused on his niche, which was a massive game changer and exploded his real estate business and continues to grow and expand it from there. And like I mentioned, you guys, his niche is working with real estate investors, working with developers, which has led him into becoming a very successful real estate investor himself. So again, WILLIE breaks down so much epic content that I know you're going to learn so much for. Before we jump into this amazing GSD Mode Podcast interview, make sure to download my new book at joshuasmithfreebook.com. The book is called Dominate Your Real Estate Business, Top Tips from a Top Producer, where I break down top tips, top strategies, top tactics, and different methods that have allowed me and my team to become one of the top, not just real estate agents, but team leaders on the planet. It's 100% free, nothing being sold, just strategies and tips to help you dominate your real estate business. So again, joshuasmithfreebook.com. All right, let's jump on into this amazing podcast interview with my man, WILLIE. All right, WILLIE, man, so stoked and honored to have you here on the GSD Mode Podcast, my friend.
How you doing? I'm happy to be on, man.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you're a dude that just jumped in the real estate game, man, and has crushed it on so many different levels, you know, right? As a real estate agent, as well as an investor, and which has led to a lot of other things that you're doing now. And so I'm really stoked to be able to pick your brain, man, and jump into this, dude. And before we get into all the amazing things that you're up to today, I'm always intrigued in our guest journeys that led them here in the first place. So rewind the clocks, man. I mean, how did the journey into entrepreneurship and into the real estate world begin for you?
We grew up kind of humble, grew up kind of, let's not be humble. Let's say poor. Grew up kind of poor and was always fascinated by money and economics and the way money flowed through the economy and, how people became successful and became wealthy. And, I initially went to school for business and took a couple of finance courses, fell in love with economics and finance, changed my major over to finance. And just really fell in love with the idea of studying money, and real estate was always kind of a central figure in that, right? It's when you look at how people became millionaires and how they, continue to build wealth, real estate was always in that. So I got my real estate license back in 2010 or 2010. Really wanted to immerse myself in the business. I already had a couple multifamilies that I had bought as investment properties, but got my real estate license because I really wanted to immerse myself in the business, work with other clients. I had family members and friends that also wanted to get in the business as well. So it made a lot of financial sense. And then, from there, I had a couple people that said, yeah, you're really doing things really well. I see you're being successful. How can we hop onto your team or join and come on and join you? And 3-4 years into the business, I ended up starting my own brokerage. And, that's the Mandrell company today. We're a real estate brokerage that focuses on investment real estate, here in the Boston area. We do a little bit in the surrounding, cities and towns as well. But that's us, man. It's a great business. I love it. I love every aspect of it.
Yeah. And I know at one point, dude, it looks like you were more in the financial services.
I was.
Right. And transition and pivoted from that into the real estate space. And I mean, how has having that background, do you feel, helped kind of create this amazing foundation that you have for your real estate business?
It's been amazing because I think that, when I graduated from college, I went into corporate America. I went into the financial services industry. I got all these different licenses and certifications. I was licensed to sell life insurance and health insurance and, trade stocks and trade options and trade bonds. And all of that investment knowledge helped me really understand just financial services, just, the way money works, again, just continuing that education. And what I found even through that, and, some people are going to completely argue with me on this, but I don't really trust the stock market at the end of the day. I was in that business. I was immersed into it. And if for those people that remember back, in 2009, 2010, that's when Bernie Madoff came out. That's when Bernie Madoff was, taking billions of dollars from people. And people remember Bernie Madoff, but they don't remember all the little guys that were also doing the exact same thing. And I was in compliance. It was my job to watch over a lot of those people. So I understood how easily books could be cooked, and you can change numbers and figures and inflate things. You really can't do that on the real estate side. I mean, the numbers kind of are what they are. The rents are what they are. The expenses are what they are, especially with investment real estate. So it always kind of, when that happened, it kind of pulled me into, especially as an investor, more towards the real estate side. It's more of a trustworthy business. It's more transparent, tangible asset. So the idea that, the financial services side told me, you absolutely need to invest. If you want to become wealthy, you can't do it by working for somebody else. You have to be an entrepreneur. You have to invest. And then you look at your investment options and you say, well, there's the stock market, there's real estate, there's gold, there's bonds, there's art, antiques. There's not many real options out there, right? Most of us are never going to invest in antiques and gold and collectibles. There's really real estate and the stock market. And if you look at those two options, real estate has always been the better of the two for me.
Yeah, love that, dude. So then, you started your brokerage just a few years into the space. So I got to imagine, man, you had some quick success out of the gate. And we know the statistics, right? I mean, you've got 90% of agents that drop out in the first 3 years. And those first couple of years, man, especially that first year, can be such a challenge. It takes a while to build that momentum and so forth. And it's so important, right? I mean, if you want to have success in it, you got to be able to stay and last, right? So walk us through, what was your first, year or two like, man, that allowed you to build that momentum to be able to start your brokerage so early on?
Yeah, sure. So again, it really came from people coming to me and seeing what I was doing and saying, how can we, I never, in the beginning, I wanted to do my own thing because, I worked for 3 or 4 brokerages prior to starting my own. I'd like some things. I didn't like some things. Commission payouts were slow in some offices. Some offices had too much just, bureaucracy. So I started my own thing. And then, I was never really into recruiting. I never really went out and said, hey, come on with me. It was more or less people saying, hey, how can I see what you're doing. I see your name everywhere in the market. How can I, jump on? I'm also an investor. I'm also interested in this investment property space as well. Let's hop on and let's do some things. And so I would say over the years, there was a point where I did start recruiting actively, but I would say over the years, I probably recruited 70 agents. And right now we probably have 25 active agents in the office. So like you said, the 80-20 rule, 90-10, however you want to put it, most of them don't survive. The real estate business can be very challenging. I remember my first year, I made $11,000. I went from a $65,000 corporate salary to making $11,000 the next year. I remember being, having my hands in my face in the bedroom, like, is this for me? Do I really want to do this? But you have to push on. You have to continue to, you have to really want it. You have to, continue to be in this business and really kind of push yourself. And that's what I kind of tell my agents, and some of them make it, some of them don't. So.
Yeah. What kept driving you after that year, man? Cause I got to imagine that's a big drop, dude, right? And it sounds from your statement that you had a lot of internal thoughts going on. What kept you in the game?
I'm just not a quitter. I just don't like to lose. It's one of the things I just don't like losing, at the end of the day. I think that's just it. I mean, I don't know how else to sum it up. I just don't like losing, man. I just, like I said, I went into the business. I went into the business for the right reasons. I understood why I was in the business. And at the end of the day, I just had to continue to push on. I had to, adjust my thinking. I think some of the things I had to take a step back and look internally to the things I was doing wrong. When you first get into the real estate business, and especially on the sales side, everybody tries to do everything. They try to sell land, and they try to sell residential, and they try to sell commercial, and then they're 50 an hour. Here in Boston, if you're 10, 15 minutes away from your home, you're in a completely different neighborhood. The real estate is not the same. You're talking about anywhere from $400,000, single family homes to $1.5 to $2 million condos within 10 minutes of each other. So here in Boston, you really have to understand your market. I was trying to go everywhere, do everything, and trying to please everyone. And then I had to take a step back and say, why did I get into this business? I got into this business because I wanted to become an investor, to understand my market better. And I decided to create my niche and serve those clients that also wanted that a little bit better. So I started marketing myself as the investor's agent, as an agent who was also an investor and can really help you understand that market niche, buying the multifamilies, evaluating your rents, evaluating your income, looking at cap rates and everything else. Not all those agents understood those numbers and those financials. So I started putting myself out there as that, particular agent, and, kind of things took off from there.
Yeah, I love that, man. The saying, the riches are in the niches,
They are.
And,
Absolutely.
and also I think it's important, for anybody that's listening to this, that is, going through that, whether it's your first year struggle or whatever, but it's, your first year, like you mentioned, only to making 11 grand your first year. I remember having Ryan Serhant, the $1 million listing New York, guy in the show, is doing $1 billion a year, and his first year did like 9 grand, right? It doesn't really mean what the rest of your career is going to look like. I mean, the first year is kind of a bitch for everybody, dude.
Right, exactly. No one knows who you are. So
yeah, man. So you then you got really clear on that niche, man. And I have a lot of real estate agents that listen to this podcast that I know that reach out to me that want to get in with investors. Right. So you got clear on that. You wanted to be an investor. I think us as real estate agents, man, I think every real estate agent's dream at the end of the day is kind of become an investor and become their own client, right? Yeah. And we're in such a blessed space where we can make money while we're learning the craft at the same point and so forth. And, once you got clarity on that niche, man, just, for those that are watching and listening that maybe want to go after that same niche, how did you then start going out there and getting business and start building that pipeline?
Networking. At the end of the day, it's going out there, going to your local RIAs, your real estate investment associations, meeting the investors, and just letting them know, and asking them, what are they looking for? Because you as a real estate agent have your niche, but also understanding that investors have their niche as well. Not all investors are created equal, meaning not all investors are buy and hold investors. I would describe myself as a buy and hold investor, but all the TV shows are, flippers, right? I mean, everybody on the TV show is flipping houses and flip that and flip this. And that's not me. So I have a lot of investors and agents that come to me and say, hey, I have this single family in the burbs. Are you interested? And most often I'm not, because it doesn't make sense as a buy and hold investment. So understanding your investor's niche as well. What are they looking for? What are their sources of capital? What are their buying timeline? Are they buying in cash, or do they need financing? Do they need an appraisal, or can you often forego that contingency? Just going out there and just meeting as many people as I can. And then eventually what ended up happening was I ended up starting my own real estate investment group. Same thing with the brokerage. I went to a bunch of them, liked some things, didn't like some things, and I ended up extending or creating my own real estate investment group. It was called Boston Wealth Builders at the time, roughly, and it's still in existence, roughly 3,000 members within the group right now. And it's a combination of just new investors, experienced investors, developers within the city. And it's just been a great opportunity for me to go out there and expand my business because of that network as well.
Love that, man. So, I mean, when you started that network, or maybe the better question might be what you're doing with it today, because I'm sure you had to learn a lot and it probably evolved and, and so forth. But what does that look like? I mean, is it something where you guys are meeting, once a month, just sharing strategies, and so forth? I mean, can you kind of walk us around the structure of it?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's an incredible group. I mean, it started off, it was two reasons. One is because I wanted to increase my network and meet other investors and developers. And then two, it started because I was a little bit lonely. I was doing a lot of things that, a lot of other investors and, agents weren't doing, thinking about things. I was in my early 20s. So I'm, staying home on the weekends and, working on the nights and figuring out the marketing thing and the social media thing. So it was for me to meet other people, other like-minded people who wanted to invest in real estate, people who were getting started early, people who were worried about their financial future. And then it's springboarded into so much more. I mean, it's been a recruiting source for the brokerage today. It's been a source of private lending for equity partners and private lenders who invest in my deals today. It's been, I mean, I have so many friends that I've made from the group as well. We do, so to answer your questions more specifically, we don't do monthly meetings like the typical RIA. They meet in the same hotel on a Thursday night, and it's the same crowd that comes. And one of the things that I didn't like about the RIAs that were in existence is when you have that consistent nightly meeting on the third Thursday of the night. If I have my children on that third Thursday of the night, I'm likely going to have it the same thing in the next month as well. So I'm never going to be able to meet this requirement, and you end up with the same crowd every single meeting. What I try to create is a little bit more of a diverse group. So we don't meet at the same location. We meet at different restaurants around the city, north of the city, west of the city. We also do rehab tours. So if I'm renovating, if I'm doing a gut renovation of a building, I'll bring the group out and say, hey, this is what rough plumbing looks like, electrical looks like, walk everybody through. We also do a lot of webinars, especially with COVID now. We're doing a ton of webinars, hopping on and saying, here's the BRRRR strategy. Here's how I'm finding the financing. Here's how commercial real estate works. And then it's not just me. It's also going out and bringing other investors in, other agents, other mortgage brokers, and saying, here's great resources for you. And it works for obviously the mortgage broker as a lead generator, and it works for the end user as a source of information.
Yeah, love it, man. It just sounds like you're just delivering so much value. That's the key,
man. It's the same thing you're doing, man. It's the same thing.
Yeah, value. I think so many people that get into networking, real estate agents, whatever, they're just trying to get from it instead of going out there and giving. And I love that you brought up that it sounds like the group was deeper than just getting clients. Right? I mean, you were looking for those deeper relationships and probably finding great mentors as well, and so forth.
No, absolutely, and it still is today. I mean, it's been a great. There's been a couple of people that have tried to, buy the group from me, so to speak, and or participate. And it's probably my biggest asset today. But it is because of the genuine desire to collaborate with other people, meet other people, and it's in the genuine joy that I get when other people succeed within the group. It's not all about and that's one thing I love about real estate is there's enough out here for everyone. There's enough money to be made. It's not people often think when you're coming into the business as a new agent or a new investor that you are in competition with everyone, and we describe them as our competition sometimes, but a lot of times there's plenty of enough room to collaborate and for everybody to make some money in this business. So yeah, it's been an incredible group for me.
Yeah, love it, man. So then, how long did it start to take? And the reason I'm asking this question is, Napoleon Hill's famous book, Think and Grow Rich, he talks about stopping 3 feet short of gold. And, we see that with a lot of real estate agents, a lot of entrepreneurs. They try something, they kind of dabble in it. They don't give it long enough to really reap the rewards of it, So, I mean, how long did it take to really start building up that momentum where you started seeing a lot of successes out of the group?
Years. And that's the way everything takes. I mean, I started off with $11,000 that first year in sales. I mean, I think I made $30,000 the next year. And then it was probably, close to 6 figures at year 3. And then, the years after. And it's the same thing with the real estate, group. I mean, I think I started, it took me maybe a year to see a couple hundred members. And then the following year, we hit 500. And then the year after that, it was 1,000. And then it just blinked and it seems like you're 3,000. It's a snowball effect. It's like it works that way in everything in business, from my net worth to my income to the members that we have in the group. It starts off real slow. You have to stay with it. Your name is not out there. People don't know who you are. And even when you tell them, they still forget and you have to remind them. And that's just the way business works. You have to continue to stay out there, stay consistent. And if you believe in what you're doing, it'll take effect.
Yeah, love it, dude. And then when it comes to because man, I mean, that group is huge today, right? Is it something that's grown organically, or is it something that you've been, were you marketing it? Were you doing certain promotional things to grow it, or was it just something that evolved organically over time?
A little bit of both. In the beginning, it's marketing. In the beginning, it's me putting that group website everywhere. It's me telling people about it. And then just like anything else, and you tell 10 people and hopefully they tell a few people. And then now for today, it's just organic. And, I pop on the group's on meetup.com and I pop in there, and every single time I pop in, there's 25 or 30 new members that I need to reach out to that have just joined the group. So, in the beginning, marketing and pushing it and pushing that message. But after a while, it's just organic growth.
Yeah, love it, dude. And then it sounds like, at some point you niche down even further and started working with local developers, right? So you almost found a niche within the niche,
Yeah.
that seemed to be a big game changer for you. Can you kind of walk us through like what, when that light bulb went off and what that looks like and how it changed your business?
Yeah, sure. No, that was a fun light bulb when it went off. I think here in Boston, if you're not familiar, we build up. We don't build out. Everything here is a 3-family, triple decker. So years ago, when the 3-family traditionally was, you buy one and you live in one, and then your family lives in the other 2 units. That's what they were built for in early 1900s. But somewhere along the line, Boston started getting really dense. We have a real need for housing. So all of these 3 families now are being converted into condos. And basically what a condo is, for those who are not, or a condo conversion is, you're basically taking one deed for the 3-family, one person owns it, and now breaking it up into 3 deeds. And basically somebody owns unit 1, somebody owns unit 2, and somebody owns unit 3, and they all live in this building together. They manage it as a condo association. So a lot of the developers in Boston are basically buying these 3 families for, let's call it $500,000. They put $500,000 into it. They gut the building, new electrical, new plumbing. So they're into the thing for $1 million, and then they sell out each unit at about $500,000 a piece. Sounds crazy to somebody who doesn't know Boston, but this is, these are real numbers. So you basically you're buying at 5, you're putting $500,000 into the building, selling out for 1.5 million. I did that first condo conversion with a developer. I found the property for him, sold him the building, and then he came back to me and said, okay, now I have 3 other sales for you, or 3 retail sales for you that all need to be sold out at $500,000. So if you're kind of doing the math there, I basically found, I knew this developer and I knew what he was looking for. I understood his niche. He was a condo developer. I went out and found this multifamily for him. I earned a commission on the front end for, on that $500,000 sale. And then 9 months later, he comes back to me and says, I now have 3 condo listings for you, each at a $500,000 sale. And now I'm earning a commission on one of those deals, or on each of those as well. So basically what I'm trying to say is I took one sale and turned it into 4 sales or 3 other sales 9 months down the road. That became my business model. That was so much easier than me going out to the burbs and selling a single family home, somebody who really is more concerned about their yard and their dog and their, how many bedroom counts. It was more of an emotional decision versus the financial decision and the numbers-based decision from the investor. And the statistics show us that, that homeowner is probably not going to sell for another 5 or 6 years. So me staying up with that homeowner was, was a task. And that's what most, agents are doing. Whereas the developer, as soon as he buys that, he's going out and giving me 3 more listings 6 to 9 months later. And then again, looking for another deal within that same year. When I put those 2 models together, I said the developer side was so much more lucrative. So I focused on going out and finding dilapidated 3 families, properties that needed a ton amount of work that could potentially be converted into condos, and just feeding those developer clients. And my business just, springboarded from there.
Yeah, love it. So then, dude, with that, is it then going out there and finding clients that are potential developers that are already doing that, or with the group and a lot of the financial education that you do, was it teaching maybe somebody that's usually just buying, let's just say single family or whatever it may be, this new model where you're almost creating new clients for that specific, strategy?
You could, because there's a lot of multifamily buyers that are still using the traditional model, buying them and then renting all 3 of them out. So I have clients that are on both, but I think that the condo development model is complex. Building is not easy here in Boston. There's a lot of regulation. It's you have to go through a lot of red tape in order to get that condo development done. So in most cases, I'm looking for the more experienced developer on that side, someone that I can, shovel this property over to and go look for the next deal. And then hopefully in 6 to 9 months, they're coming back to me and saying, I have an end product, for you. And the lovely thing about it is I can almost start marketing those 3 condo units almost from day one, as soon as they start construction, because I already know what the end product is going to be. I already know what the end product is going to look like. So there's always inventory there. But to answer your question more specifically, that model is probably geared towards somebody with a little bit more experience, somebody who was already in the business.
Yeah, love it, man. So then, because I'm sure that over the years with the brokerage that you've had agents that come in that are as green as can be, that don't know the investment side, you know, because I mean, everything that you're saying, man, it's just a great way to leverage this business, dude. You know, right? When you're selling one home at a time, like you mentioned before, if it's 5 to 7 years before they resell it and
Right.
so forth. But there's a lot of limiting beliefs, you know, right? Oh, I'm not savvy, or people might be, you know, listening to you and be like, well, you were a real estate investor before you got started in real estate. You also have, you know, your stock market experience, and you have the investor mind, you know, right? But again, I'm sure that you've mentored and brought in so many green agents. So if there's a new agent to the investment side that's wanting to get started on this niche, you know, what are recommendations that you give them to be able to kind of gain the knowledge base and go out there and start developing that niche?
No, Josh, that's an excellent question. Here's what I would say is, though I have some investment experience prior, I took took plenty of finance courses. The business is not hard, especially on the buy and hold side, right? If you're doing condo conversions or you're doing flips, it's something a little bit different. But on the buy and hold side, and if anybody who's known me probably heard this story before, but my grandmother moved from Macon, Georgia, up to Boston in the 1950s. She's a Black woman from the South with a sixth grade education, moved up to Boston, and was working odd jobs, waiting tables, stuff like that. And someone encouraged her to get into the business, buy her first multifamily and rundown neighborhood in Boston. It was a boarding house. She bought the thing, was renting out rooms, and then slowly started to fix up the place and, rent out levels and buy more property, and started pulling equity out and buying other properties in Boston. Became a millionaire, multimillionaire because of that, because neighborhoods changed, and, Prudential Center went up, and Copley and all these different things in the neighborhood changed. She used to tell me all the time, you should be able to 10X, before Grant Cardone, she was telling me you should be able to 10X this business. No problem. If I was able to do what I was able to do based on a sixth grade education, you're going to go to college. You're going to have all this extra experience. You should be able to do so much more. So I guess my point is, don't overthink it. There's a lot of terminology. There's cap rates and, cash on cash return. You don't need to know all these different. My grandmother had no idea what a cap rate was. At the end of the day, the business, especially on the investment side, the buy and hold is very simple. You have income and you have expenses. And the goal is to get your income to exceed your expenses by as much as possible. And if you look at those two numbers, how do you maximize that income and minimize those expenses? And as long as you're looking at that, you're going to be okay. There's a lot of people that don't have, an exorbitant amount of education and are still doing really well in the business.
Yeah, love that, dude. And then as far as you personally, you talk more about you being a buy and hold investor, because I'm getting the question constantly, especially with prices going through the roof in most areas like they are, is now a good time to buy and so forth. Like what are you investing in yourself, and are you investing today?
Yeah, absolutely. I never stop. And again, I bought my first home in 2006. Stock market crash 2007, housing market crash 2008. So I've had the pleasure of riding out a recession, prior. So I mean, I know what it feels like. I know the hesitation that people have. They don't want to get caught up in that. But here's the thing, as I would say, as long as your numbers make sense today, I'm still buying. And basically what I'm saying is I'm in my, mid to late 30s right now. I have a 25 year timeline, and I'm going to see multiple recessions. I'm going to see, you and I are both going to live through probably 3-4 more of these things. Whether we're going through one right now or not. So to answer your question, yes, I'm still buying, making sure that my numbers make sense, making sure that my numbers are tight. A lot of people get into this business and they speculate. They buy with the assumption that the property is going to be worth more a year from now or 2 years from now. Don't buy like that. Right now, you should be buying. And when you're buying on cash flow. You're buying on the money that's being put in your pocket today. If I have a property that I'm purchasing and I know all of my expenses, my mortgage, my taxes, my insurance, my water, my trash, are all going to be $3,000 a month, and I know that I can collect $4,500 a month from that, that's a pretty good deal for me. That's $500 a door, and those are the things that I'm looking for, regardless of what the market does. Even if that property dips in value 10% or 15% next year, the performance, the cash that's being produced is unlikely to take a dip. Right, rents are still going to be there, and my expenses are still going to be there. So my net worth has decreased a little bit, but I still should be putting cash in my pocket every month. And that's the way I'm buying right now. Is just don't speculate. Make sure you're buying on cash flow.
Yeah. And if we look historically at recessions and depressions and so forth, rents tend to go up. I know in the last market crash, 2008, 2009, because you have people losing their homes, they
Yeah.
need a place, everybody needs a rooftop,
Yeah.
right? So, supply goes up for homes to sell, but
Right.
then more people need a place now to rent. And seems historically like that. Yeah, like you mentioned, that the values go down, but I'm sure your cash flow goes up during those times too.
And that's just it. It actually is. It comes down to economics at the end of the day. It's supply and demand, right? So if people aren't buying, I'm glad you mentioned that. It's a really basic concept, but most people really just don't get it. If everyone's running scared and they're not buying homes, well, they still need a roof, like you said, right? So what are they doing? If they're not buying, then they're renting. And if everyone's renting and you're the only one with a rental, then demand goes up. And if demand goes up and it's a limited supply, then price goes up. It works the same way with milk, bread, oranges, in real estate as well. So
Yeah, love it, man. So then, if I'm sure that you've had a lot of learning lessons, right? I mean, I know some people
yeah,
look at it as failures or whatever, but I like to look at them as that's how we grow and
right,
expand. I
right,
mean,
right.
growth
Yeah,
only comes from suffering, right?
that's right.
What have been some of your biggest personal learning lessons on your investment journey that have allowed you to become that much more of a savvy investor?
Not sticking to my niche. Going outside and trying to get too aggressive too quickly. There was a point in Boston where, and again, it's still Boston. Boston's very low inventory. Things don't turn over a ton. You have to be on top of things and ready to go. And so I started looking in other markets. I started going 45 minutes outside of the city, 50 minutes outside of the city, investing in things that I didn't know. I think in 2019, I lost probably close to $100,000 in value. So I would say it was a very, very expensive learning lesson. I bought some commercial space, didn't know the commercial business. I was 45 minutes away from my house or my market, and bought some commercial space, probably lost $25,000 there. And did a condo conversion myself. I was one of those people that was like, all these guys are making all this money. I want to do one myself. 45 minutes north of the city, probably lost another $75,000 there. Still doing my taxes right now, so I'm going to see what the final numbers are. But but no, very expensive learning lessons, and it sounds stupid to say, but I don't regret it because it helps me hone back in. It helps me zero back in and say, here's what you're really good at. And I can't remember if it was Warren Buffett or somebody said it, but you can either be kind of poor and entertained, or bored and rich. And basically what he means is you're going to do the same thing over and over and over again, but you really understand it and you're really going to make money with it because you understand that money is in the nuances. Money is in those little crevices that most people don't never get to. Or you can get out there and do something new all the time, and you're doing condo conversions and flips and buy and holds, and you're doing all these different things, but you don't really understand any of it. And that's, like I said, you're going to stay poor doing that.
Yeah, one of my favorite books, Atomic Habits. James Clear talks about. He interviews like one of the best sports athletic trainers for the pro athletes, and he asked him, he's like, "What's the difference?" Because when you get to the pro level, like they're all amazing talent, potential, whatever. He's like, "What's the difference from the good to greats?" And he goes, "The ability to push through boredom."
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm believe me, I spent $100,000 learning that.
Yeah, no, I love that, man. So then, and this is kind of changing gears a little bit, but I mean, dude, you got a lot going on, man. I mean, you've got your brokerage, you got 25 agents that you're coaching, you're mentoring that are part of the brokerage. You got your personal investments going on, plus you got a life outside of this and so forth. How do you keep it structured and keep it together, as you're continue to grow and expand?
It's difficult. It's that work-life balance, that balance between, the brokerage and investing and everything. It's difficult. That's one of the more difficult parts of my life, but I try to, I think every year I put my plan in place and I say, what do I want to do for 2020? And I used to have 5-year goals, but now things are moving so quickly for me. I encourage new, investors and new agents to put 5-year goals in place. But, at a certain point, I started doing 1-year goals. And I basically just say, based on my 2020 goal here in June or July, what am I looking to do? And I break it down into categories. And I basically say, I make sure that, I have top level goals for my family. And my personal life, I have top level goals for my real estate brokerage and then top level goals for my real estate portfolio. And I say, look, in the month of July, if I only get 1, 2, and 3 done personally, if I only get 1, 2, 3 and done, on the portfolio side and then on the brokerage side as well, it's going to be a solid month. I think too many people go into, business and life and just say, I want to work hard. Hard work is great, but if you don't have any structure to it, any plan in place, I think it's going to be faulty. I used to do that. I used to just wake up and just go hard every single day. And I appreciate the people that do that, but you do have to have some type of structure, and you do have to, run your life almost like a business and track what you do. Are you getting things done? Are you getting those top level important things done? And when you do that, I think though it's still very difficult, you put a system in place, and it makes things a little bit, smoother. Now you can look back over the month of July as we can complete this month and say, what are the things that I wanted to do? And did I get those things done? And if not, what are all these distractions that are happening in my life? And can I minimize those going into the next month and focus more on the things that need to be done?
Yeah. Love it, dude. So, I know that, man, in addition to all the things that you're doing that we've talked about, you also are a coach, an author, speaker, and so forth. What led to these other avenues of being a coach, author, and a speaker?
Just the need to, I genuinely don't think that I'm special in any way. The need to go out there and let people know that, this isn't difficult, success, building wealth, achieving the things that you want in life aren't difficult. And I think that, I get approached by a lot of people and say, hey, can you, show me what you're doing? Or can you kind of teach me about what you're doing? So the coaching and the speaking just comes from just wanting to put the word out there, just wanting to share with other people that I genuinely don't think that I'm not Mark Zuckerberg, right? I don't have this, unique ability to write algorithms in my dorm room and come up with something just amazing. This business is actually really quite simple. You just stay focused. It's a numbers business. The same thing with real estate on the sales side. I generate massive amount of leads that come into my business on the investment side. And I would say for every 100 leads that are coming into my business, I'm probably buying 3 properties. I would say that was one of the biggest things that I wanted to share with people is you can't passively do this. You can't just do this. I'm in it to win it. And so the book, the speaking, and all these different things just comes from just wanting to put the message out there, man.
Yeah, no, I love that, man. What is, so when you say that it's not difficult, I'm assuming that you mean the actual strategy itself.
Right.
But then, but what have you found to be like the biggest personal challenges, on this success journey that you're on?
Just staying focused. That's it. It's I think if you're anyone, if you wake up every day wanting the same thing, I think you'll get it. You'll get it, and you'll get it, 10 times more than what you thought you'll get. And that's what it was for me, is just, there are a lot of distractions in life for all of us. Anytime I hop on this thing with you and I click my browser to open up and there's 10 different stories that are, calling for my attention. Right. I mean, as soon as we hop on this thing, my phone will be vibrating with text messages and Facebook, this and LinkedIn, there's just so many different distractions. And I think that the hardest thing about all of this, you're right. The strategy is easy. It's buy low, sell high. It's, income and expenses. But the hardest thing about it is just staying focused and believing in yourself and believing in the path that you're on, staying on that path, and knowing that it's going to lead you to where you want to be.
Yep. Love it, man. So going back to your book and your coaching, is it specific to real estate investing?
It is. The book is Cash Flow Secrets, very specific to real estate investing. It's Cash Flow Secrets is, I actually have a 3-book series coming out, but Cash Flow Secrets is the first of the 3. And that basically takes you from, I'm brand new to this business. I don't know anything about economics, finance, money. It kind of takes you through how money works through the economy, how economics, the things that we just talked about, supply and demand work, and why you need to become an investor, how your purchasing power is lost through inflation, how if you need to become an investor, here are your investment options, and why I was led to real estate and why you should be led to real estate as a great investment option for you. And then kind of concludes with how do you make that first purchase through probably unit 10. And then from there are a couple other books that are coming out, business secrets about how do you really scale, and the things that we're talking about today, turning it into a business, bringing in massive lead generation, and really kind of, having your portfolio explode from there.
Yep, love it, dude. So then, when you're talking about lead generation, which seems to be real estate agents' favorite topic, regardless of what their niche is,
right?
What are things that you are doing that are working really well to bring in these leads? I know you talked about the networking group itself, but I don't know if there's other things that you're doing, if you're doing social media ads or whatever. But what are some of the things that are in addition to the group that are working really well to bring in all the leads that you guys are bringing in?
Educating people, and that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. It's the more you get yourself out there, and you as a real estate agent, just by passing the exam, you have a unique base of knowledge that most people just do not understand. Just most people do not. I mean, from anything from the first time home buyer seminar, and I've done hundreds of those, right? But I didn't do them. I put my own little spin on it. I didn't go out saying, hey, this is a first time home buyer seminar, because there's 25 other agents in my niche that are in my neighborhood that are competing with me. I did a first time multi-family seminar. And just by doing that, just by changing those, a couple words there, had tremendous success, because people are like, I want to buy a multifamily. I don't want to buy a single family. Our presentation was probably 10% different than the one that you would have went to on the, the single family seminar. But just by us changing the wording on it, and creating that little, that niche for ourselves, we had tremendous success there. But at the end of the day, it's just going out and educating people, and educating whether you know something. I talk about everything from, living trust to taxes, to what I'm doing with LLCs and investing in LLCs, and all that stuff helps out my brokerage as well, because you have people that come in and say, hey, how do I work with you? How do I learn this stuff? And it helps me generate leads that I pass on to the agents in my office. So to answer your question, I would say just doing everything that you can, whether it be Instagram. I'm not a big fan of paid ads, to be honest with you. Anything that I get out there is more organic. I use YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and it's all just about putting information out there that will help somebody else, turn on that light bulb.
Yep. No, I love that, man. Love it, dude. So then, I know that it's so tough. None of us have a crystal ball, but I'm getting this question about, a dozen times a day. And, having the background that you have, I mean, you've got a unique background that a lot of us don't have, being in the investment side, not just in the real estate side, but also the stock market side. And there's a lot of uncertainty with things that are taking place right now. But, what are your thoughts of, what the real estate market is heading towards, let's just say in the next, 12 to 24 months? And then what are you doing to prepare, for any shifts that may come about?
No, good question. Again, none of us have a crystal ball, and I hate to be the guy that, predicts things, and then, you could be, famous for predicting it right and famous for predicting it wrong. But what am I doing? I think was probably the easier question for me to answer is just liquidity. I'm making sure that I'm liquid and preparing for things. I'm not trying to get too aggressive. If I'm buying things right now, I'm making sure that they are absolutely solid deals, that they are deals that I want to hold on to for the next 10, 15, 20 years. I think that interest rates are going to remain low. I do not see interest rates going up anytime in the next 12 to 24 months. I think you can count on interest rates being low. And with that, I think, COVID is bringing in my prediction, is going to bring a lot of uncertainty. So I think you're going to see a lot of homeowners that were hesitant. And again, I don't know how this applies to across the country, but here in Boston, our inventory is super low. We've had a lot of people holding on to things that they probably wanted to sell 5 years ago, but they're holding on because their neighbor sold for $1 million and they want to sell for $1 million, and they kind of playing out this appreciation game. I think you're going to see a lot of those people just say, it's time to just move on at this point. I just don't want to be in this home anymore. So I think you're going to see that inventory start to loosen up a little bit. So I think on the real estate side, interest rates are going to be low. Inventory is going to loosen up a little bit. And on the investment side, I'm just really trying to prepare and trying to keep myself as liquid as possible for opportunities that I predict are going to be, coming up in the next, couple of years.
Yeah, no, love that, man. So then, with when it comes to, and we talked about your book, we talked about in I want to talk a little bit about your coaching. So is that something that is, I mean, just what kind of coaching are you doing? Can you just give us some insight to what that looks like?
Sure. I mean, I really have fun with it, to be honest with you. This is one of the things about my business that it is not really structured, and I actually kind of like it that way. So I'm doing coaching, everything in between. I have clients that right now are saying, hey, I've been in the real estate business for several years and I want to open up my own brokerage. There are not a lot of books out there on opening up your own brokerage. So what were the challenges that you had? How did you recruit agents? I also have, and I'm helping them kind of build that out for themselves. I also have clients that are in the middle of a construction project right now and kind of want some guidance on getting through some of the issues here in Boston that we have with building. And then I have, I have clients across the country that are more interested in, building your niche, getting onto the investment side, the buy and hold side. And they're just people who, connected with me on a personal level and like my style and like the things that I was doing. So on the coaching side, I'm doing a little bit of everything, man. It's actually kind of fun because every single time I have one of these conversations, it's not that's where I'm getting, that's where I keep my, myself excited. I'm able to talk about anything from the brokerage to authoring a book to running or building out a real estate portfolio. So it's been fun, man. That's on the coaching side.
Yeah, love it, dude. So then, when it comes to, because we have a lot of team leaders and brokerage owners that are listening to this podcast, and it seems to be the number one challenge that I see team leaders and broker owners have, which is just the overall growth, man, recruiting agents, right? And what has worked well for you over the years, whether it's attraction or if you're intentionally recruiting them, to be able to continue to grow the brokerage side?
I think at the end of the day, it's showing who you are personally. I think people want to work with people that they like and that they seem to be in sync with. I think, I tried all the different, recruiting tactics and styles and, and all the, the lines and all this other stuff. And at the end of the day, most people come, and, when you ask them, why are you working with me still? You ask them in a more professional way than that. But the answer is simply, like I said, I enjoy being around you. We have a similar mindset. I'm trying to achieve some of the same things that you're trying to achieve. We're on a similar path. You're maybe 5 years ahead of me or 10 years ahead of me, but I like where you're heading. I like your style. And so I think at the end of the day, brokers and, people that are recruiting need to show the personality of the business, show the personality of the broker. And I think it's the same way, Josh, that why people follow you. I mean, there's a lot of personality there, and people like what you're doing. They like you personally. So I think that's really it. Is just kind of putting yourself out there, showing who you are as a person. And then you will find people that, are out there that want to, they want to come along for the ride.
Yep, love it, man. So then with your brokerage, dude, is the entire brokerage still like investor focused, or let's just say I'm in your market and I'm focusing on, just regular traditional buyers and sellers, that wants to join your brokerage? I mean, is it kind of a mixture, or is it just strictly staying in that niche?
No, we stay in our niche. We stay in our lane. And in terms of marketing, right? So in terms of marketing, we're putting our multifamily business out there. We work with developers. We work with investors. So when we put ourselves out there, that's what we're doing. Does that mean that we don't sell any single family homes or condos? Oh, no, we absolutely do. We have a lot of friends and family members, or someone who just sold a multifamily who now wants to downsize and buy a condo and likes the way that we work and wants to stay with us. So we still close on a lot of transactions that are outside of the multifamily space. But in terms of the way we present ourselves to the market, we are investor focused.
Yep. Love it, man. So real quick, man, where is, if anybody that's watching or listening to this wants to go snag your book, and it sounds like soon to be 3-part series books. But if they're interested in checking out your book, grabbing your book, maybe they're interested in having a conversation with you, a coaching conversation with you, and want to just check out your content. It sounds like you have so much content out there. Like, where's the best place, Willie, to follow you, to get in touch with you, to do all of that at?
Yeah, sure. This is the book right here. It's Cash Flow Secrets, coming out in September. And it's realwealthbooks.com, realwealthbooks.com. You can go there. Pre-sales are up right now. And in terms of connecting with me, I'm on Instagram, WJ Mandrell. We're also at Real Wealth Builders, which is the real estate investment group. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I'm on YouTube. Definitely, check out our YouTube channel. Subscribe there. And our website is mandrellco.com, MANDRCO. .com, mandrellco.com. I always get confused myself with that CO at the end.
Yeah, love it, dude. And anybody watching and listening, wherever you're at, we'll make it super easy. And if you just scroll below, we'll have links to the book, to Willie's web. I mean, everything that he just mentioned, social media sites, all of that. We'll have links all below so you guys can connect with them and so forth. So, this was is this your first book that you're?
It is. And what happened was, and people are like, well, how many, do you have anything else? And I'm like, no, it was weird because COVID shut us down. We were one of the states that shut down super early. Construction shut down. We were shut down for a total of 4 months. So to stay productive, I basically was waking up every morning at 4 o'clock before the kids got up and just writing. And when it started coming out of me, what I thought was going to be one book actually turned into 3. So, so yes, this is the first one that'll be published. But I do have 2 more, that are in the works that are kind of, this is kind of your base level, and then the next 2 are, the upper level stuff.
Yeah, love it, man. Did you enjoy the process? Right? Or was it like, what was the hardest part, man? Because I always get asked, like, when you coming out of the book, man. And I'm like, dude, everybody that I know that's had to author a book, they're like, man, it was so much more, much more focus and time than they ever fathomed.
Believe me, I'm still picking at it today. Even as I have a printed copy on my shelf, it's still like, oh, I should have used this word right here. I should have said this, or I should have expanded on that a little bit more. So I'm pretty sure there are going to be several other editions of this that'll come out. I think that the hardest part was just second guessing yourself. I think, is this quality information? The people that I've given it to are like, yeah, this is awesome. Can't wait till it comes out. But I think you're your own worst critic. I think that's what it comes down to. I mean, I think there's always going to be somebody who is like, yeah, this is incredible. I can't believe that you didn't come out with this sooner. But I think you as yourself, I think one of the things for me, I assume that if I know it, everyone knows it. I genuinely don't believe that I'm special in any way. And not that I'm special, but that's not necessarily the case. I have a lot of specialized information that is not necessarily available to everyone. And I think it's realizing that you have just, from doing these interviews and talking to people and everything, you have an amazing amount of, information that's inside of you, and just getting it out on paper and just believing that it's going to be a good product.
Yeah, I think it's important for everybody to realize that no matter what level of success anybody creates, I think we all suffer from self-doubt.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah, I love it, man. So one last question for you, Willie. If knowing everything you know now today, if Willie today could go back and have a conversation with, Willie, when you first entered the real estate industry, and give yourself 2 pieces of advice that you feel would have just really fast forward the success trajectory that you're on, what would those 2 pieces of advice look like?
Niche up a lot sooner. People want to, I think that people think that, new real estate agents believe that all real estate agents are created equal. All investors are created equal. But you have to look at being in this business like you're a med student, right? Or you're a doctor. I don't want to get my heart surgery from a dentist. My wife's a pharmacist. So technically she's a doctor, but I don't want to get surgery from my wife. That's just so the heart surgeon is different from the general MD, right? And that's really what you need to become, is the heart surgeon. You need to specialize in those specialties. I think the generalists are going to do okay, but the specialists are really going to be the people who make money. And I would have encouraged myself to specialize a lot sooner. And I guess it's really the same thing, is just stay focused. I mean, you're going to have distractions. Early in my career, let too many things distract me, too many down days, too many times where I was like, damn, I didn't get that listing. I put my head down and it's almost like something zips by my face. That was another opportunity. Because I had my head down, I wasn't paying attention to it. And you come back up and you're ready to get back to work, and you realize that you missed 10 calls that were probably good listings or good buyer representation agreements or whatever it may be. So it's, no matter what happens to you, you're going to have good days and bad days. You keep your head up, you stay focused, and then you find your specialty. You look inside yourself and say, what do I want to do? I didn't enjoy being the single family, suburban broker. I liked being in the city. I liked working with clients who focused on numbers and were more logic-based investors. And that was me. It took me a while to say, I don't necessarily need all of the business. I would, if I can, specialize and create a name for myself in an area, I'm going to be a lot more successful. So I would say those two things: specialize and just stay focused.
Yep. Powerful words of advice, my man. And Willie, dude, I know how busy you are, and I truly appreciate you taking time out of your busy to be here, man. This has been a lot of fun, and it's been amazing.
No, Josh, I'm a big fan. I appreciate you having me on the show, man.
Yeah,
Again, I encourage you keep doing what you're doing, man. It's you're out there educating a lot of people, and it's definitely much needed.
Yeah, no, I truly appreciate the support and the kind words, my friend. And those watching and listening, as always, we truly appreciate you watching, appreciate your support, and we will see you next time. Peace. Hope you enjoyed this GSD Mode podcast episode. Now make sure you get shit done and smash that subscribe button now.